All right, welcome to this edition of the Whatever Podcast. And today we've got, once again, Aceman analysis, and we're doing this for a second time with Life is Overrated. So, welcome back again.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah, so the first thing I want to talk about with you guys today is about Jeffrey Dahmer because he's been trending because of that new Netflix series. So you actually did make a video about Jeffrey Dahmer, just serial killers in general, almost a year ago. And you were saying the main message of it was that your child, there's always a chance when you're giving birth that your child could be a serial killer. So I feel that's quite interesting that you said that months before that Netflix series came out.
Yeah, it's a pretty big possibility. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't really see why people are so surprised with this stuff. I mean, this is like old news, so I don't see why people are, obsessed with this documentary or show series. I haven't seen it, but I've seen documentaries in the past. I've listened to a lot of serial killer podcasts, and I don't know about you guys, but to me, Jeffrey Dahmer, he's like pretty mediocre in comparison to some of the other ones.
Mm.
Yeah, and if you're putting like war criminals into the conversation, then yeah, I would agree with you on that because whatever it may be, like Vlad Putin, for example, that there are way more lives that have been lost because of him.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, when I think of like serial killers, I think of like I don't know, John Wayne Gacy. I think of the Toy Box Killer. That guy was pretty nefarious. So I'm surprised they haven't made like a TV series on him and make him more popular. But I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think of John Wayne Gacy. I think of the Golden State Killer, Whitey Bulger, like even gangsters too. I think of even if they've only had like minimal kill counts, I think of them over like Jeffrey Dahmer.
Okay, yeah. So where do you think? And Ace Man, you can answer this question as well because people have conversations about how someone like a Jeffrey Dahmer or John Wayne Gacy gets to that state of mind that they want to just kill people just like that. And some people say it's all, and I feel I completely disagree with it. Oh, it's just they were born evil. I feel that's just a lazy cop out argument because when we're all born, it's not like we have these evil thoughts. We're just innocent little babies. And this is not me minimizing what Jeffrey Dahmer did because regardless of what, or any serial killer, because regardless of whatever their circumstances were in life, that doesn't justify them doing mass killing. So where do you guys think that it comes from?
I think I would personally say three things. I'd say their social environment that they grew up in. So the environment, their house, what their life was like. I'd say the morals and values they have. And I'd probably also say any psychological or their just mental health background. I'd say those three things would determine if someone is going to be, would determine someone for being a killer.
Yeah, I've listened to a lot of documentaries about them, and to the point where it gets redundant after a while. I agree with what Ace Man said, especially when it comes to like the morals. I think a lot of times people just want to make them to be a lot of these serial killers to be like mentally unstable, which in the case a lot of them are. But there are people that just really have no morals, and really at the end of the day, they just really don't care.
Yeah, that's true about them not caring because if they really had any true remorse, they would have stopped. But the only thing that really did stop them was that they got caught. And that's just how people are, like these criminals, whoever it may be, not just serial killers, sex offenders. They'll say they're sorry, but it's not because they're sorry for their actions. It's more so because they got caught.
Yeah.
Mm.
Some of these guys are actually pretty intelligent. You know, like they live like double lives and everything. They have really good paying jobs. So obviously they're somewhat self-aware. So that's why I say some of these people aren't just like as mentally unstable as they claim they are. I mean, yeah, their acts are nefarious, but they're fully aware of what's going on. I don't think it's like, I don't know. I think people just like, oh, it's so simple. Like they're just crazy. Something's wrong with them, or like it's the devil or something. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think they just don't care.
Since you brought up about the devil, what do you make of that when people, in just other scenarios like what happened in that Travis Scott Astroworld Festival, people will be saying, "Oh, it's the devil, it's the Illuminati." I call these kind of people that always bring the Illuminati and all that kind of stuff into it. I call them Illuminati hype beast. So, what do you make of all those kind of people?
Um, I think some of these people are what like they would call fake woke. They kind of think they know what they're talking about, but they really don't. Um, I mean, me personally, I don't really believe in like Satan or the devil. Um, it doesn't really make a lot of sense when Christians say that either, because like supposedly you have free will, but then the devil is like controlling you. So I don't know. It's contradiction. You know, it contradicts itself. The logic of Christianity. It's like, so is there free will, or is somebody telling you and making you feel a certain way?
Mm.
Yeah, exactly. That's just kind of what turned me off to religion. I wouldn't say I'm atheist. I'm just, I guess the best way, if there's a label for it, I would just say agnostic because it's just not just that, but there's contradictions when it just comes to certain things with religion, like just the concept of heaven and hell itself doesn't make that much sense to me.
Yeah, no, I don't really think so either. What do you think, Ace Man?
Yeah, the heaven and hell thing, I think it's these are very like tough concepts to wrap our heads around, especially since you have to have like faith, but a lot of people really are more like evidence based where they want to see the evidence. They want to know for certain that there is such thing as Satan and the devil and that there's also something of a higher deity. So I think that a lot of people it's hard to like wrap their heads around when there's no evidence of that, when there's no evidence at all. And I think that's the reason why a lot of people um, usually turn to atheism or agnostic or become agnostic.
What would you consider yourself?
I am Christian.
So, I mean, what would your take be on like the whole like situation, like whatever kid mentioned? Do you think it's satanic or?
Um, I don't really think so because I think that the people that label it as satanic usually don't have a lot of evidence. They're just mostly basing it off of, label. They like to label, I think. And in that case scenario, I think that they were just labeling that whole incident um, as satanic when in reality, I think in the astral world, I think that that incident was just a tragedy that could have been avoided. But again, people, I don't think there was anything to do with the devil or anything like that. I think it was more just an unfortunate tragedy that took place.
I would just think like, you know, if you think that's like, if somebody says that's the work of the devil, I mean, couldn't somebody also argue like tornadoes or tsunamis or stuff like that would also be associated with Satan? You know?
Oh yeah.
But that's the weird thing about it because they'll say that astral world was some satanic ritual or whatever, but then a hurricane or whatever it may be, that's the thing that just confuses me. They'll say, "Oh, God was giving us a message." That was the best. I'm thinking, is that the best way for God to give people a message by going to the very extreme?
Yeah, I mean, that's just like kind of where I find the logic to be a little odd. It's like, God can cause this tornado or hurricane, tsunami, whatever the case may be. But then, like, the concert incident, oh, that's Satan. Well, how do we know it
Mm,
wasn't God? I mean, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. It seems very obscure.
mhm. Yeah, I agree there. I think that how can you blame the higher power, in this case God, or Satan, when you have no evidence of that? So I think it comes down to people just wanting to pick and choose when a certain incident is of the devil's making or of God's making. And I think it's hard to decipher that when there's limited evidence and when there's people that just want to choose one over the other just to push their faith on people.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is what it makes me think about with the whole situation in Astral World. No, I just lost my train of thought. What I was about to say. But, go ahead, whoever wants to go.
Well, I would add, like, when it comes to like satanic stuff, it's actually kind of funny because a lot of stuff people consider satanic doesn't even really make a lot of sense either. Like pentagrams, I believe, were originally used by Christians, early
Mm,
Christians. Um,
Mm.
they talk about like 666, but supposedly numerologists believe it would actually be 616. So just some of the things just seem to be kind of vague. Um, I mean, I was actually, I forget what I was listening to the other day, but they were saying, like, what does Satan really do? Like,
mhm.
we know he lies and, like, supposedly he lies or he tempts people, but, like, really at the end of the day, like, why is he actually evil? Like, what is he doing wrong? Because, like I said, people say, like, oh, he's telling you to kill people or he's forcing you. Well, more,
Yeah,
seems like a lot
Mhm.
of the time they're like, he's forcing you to kill people, but if you have free will, then it doesn't really make any sense. So, what is he actually like? If he's, supposedly true, I mean, what is he? How is he actually a bad, higher power or whatever the case may be? What does he actually do?
yeah. I just remember what I was about to say. The cloud. That's what I was thinking of saying because that's I think that's what motivates people as well when they say about Travis Scott is satanic or whatever. It's there's a clout factor into it as well, and then also I agree with that. What you say about life is meaningless. So I feel that people they can't gravitate or they can't grip their heads around the fact that life is meaningless. So they come up with something like that, and that's what I think is also a result of those satanic allegations about the whole tragedy at Astroworld.
Yeah, they just make stuff up because they need to find like something to do, huh?
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly.
And just to go off life is over your comment about Satan. So in a lot of like the Abrahamic religions, the entity Satan is pretty much like just the adversary of the higher power. So in a lot of cases, Satan is just used to decipher good and evil. And the only reason why, Satan pretty much, the reason why Satan is deemed evil is because even though all humans have will, um, it comes down to like the choice, and it goes back to the Adam and Eve in Genesis, in the book of Genesis, where Satan tempted. So it's more of the temptation where they use that temptation element and they classify that with Satan. So it's more of that trait that is characterized with Satan.
Yeah, I mean, I see that. I just don't really see like the nefarious part about it. Like, what is he actually doing? I mean, he's tempting people, but I mean, I don't know. It just doesn't really make any sense to me. I mean, I guess if he's killing people, but then at the same time in the Bible, God has told people to kill people too. So I
Hmm.
mean,
I think it just comes down to like um, when people are tempted to do things, they usually associate that temptation back to the book of Genesis and the story of Adam and Eve, and how that temptation they believe is from the spirits of Satan. So it's more of just the temptation to kill, to rob, to um, do um awful things, and that's what they believe comes with Satan. So I think that that might be the reason why they characterize Satan as that, even though his the story was just him being tempting Adam and Eve.
Yeah.
So what would you think of because this is my take when it comes to religion and then the concept of heaven and hell. It's like one of the oldest examples of fear mongering because they they sucker you into whatever religion it may be because this may be the right one, and the concept of hell is a way to get them into that religion because they don't want to have that potential of suffering for eternity. So what do you guys think of that?
Um, I don't know. I mean, when it comes to like, if this is the case and there is a heaven and hell, I mean, I don't know. I just personally, from my own perspective, I mean, I feel like it might be a lot different than what they claim it is. I mean,
Yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, who's to say like hell is this place where you're just suffering 24/7? What if it's just a place where people are people that just didn't believe or people that were against God? I mean, but even then, I mean, when you die, I don't know, it just seems like a deeper concept. So like everything we did in our lives, I mean, at that point, you wouldn't really know the truth. You were just really ignorant. You didn't really know. Like if for example, if you're an atheist, like you could tell God, well, there was really no evidence, this and that. Like, who's to say he wouldn't forgive you? I mean, I don't
that's
know.
a good point.
Mm.
Or like, or you stole some things in your life, but you were ignorant. I mean, you had to survive. You didn't really see it a certain way. I mean, we all make
Yeah,
mistakes. I
Mhm.
mean, is it really as trivial as they say? Like, and it also has to go, with your upbringing and certain, like Aceman said earlier, certain people, when it comes to your upbringing and how your views are shaped. I mean, what if it was completely out of your hand? So I don't know, that whole like afterlife just kind of seems like unclear to me how the
Mm.
how the rules would work.
Yeah, and I think the afterlife, even for people who are Christians, or other religions who who do believe in an afterlife, I think there's a lot of questions even for people who are considered religious or practicing a religion. And I know in my personal case, I've always questioned what is the afterlife. I've never heard stories about it. I've looked up different videos, but there's no evidence. And you could be someone who considers himself atheist or maybe agnostic and maybe doesn't practice a religion, but they may live a good life. They might do good deeds. They might, I mean, we're all also humans, so we all are born to make mistakes, either stealing, maybe being rude to people, etc., etc. I think we've all, I think once in our lives, we've all not always been innocent. And I think it's more so maybe acknowledging that and, you know, maybe seeking, um, reconciliation with your bad intentions or whatever. But I think that at the end of the day, if there is um afterlife where the good people go here, the bad people go here, I think it's more so about your actions that will lead you. And I'm not saying just like if you do one thing that may be illegal or whatever. I'm saying if you live a life where you're constantly making bad decisions and being a detriment, I think that that may determine. But again, who am I to say? Because I have no evidence. I don't know.
Yeah, I would think that you would also have to be pretty like self-aware of that too. I mean,
Mhm.
like let's say you grew up in a really bad neighborhood and all you were ever were around was you know, drug dealing or like gangs and stuff. And
Mhm.
then you get to prison and then maybe it takes you like, maybe you don't even learn your lesson. Maybe you get there and you get stabbed. I mean, and you die.
Mhm.
I mean, what if if that person wouldn't have stabbed you and you would have lived? Maybe you would have learned your lesson, but now it's too late. So is there like a point when you get to heaven or hell and they're like, hey, you got another chance? Or
Mm.
yeah, but the way that like things are phrased when it comes to religion and what's deemed something for you to go to hell or whatever it may be, it just seems like it's just so cut and dry. It's just, oh, you did this and you don't go to confession, you're going to hell. That's what it seems like to me. The way that I was taught about religion, because there was at one point I was more religious in my life.
Yeah. I think it also comes down to there's also some things where you might just you might just go to wherever house of worship you worship, but you may go to, let's say if you're a Christian, you might go to church, right? And you might be taught to, okay, you have to, I mean, in the Catholic Church, for instance, you have to do the seven sacraments. And if you don't do them, you'll go to hell. I think that's more of just like becoming a part of the community. And I think that there's spiritual and then there's also social of a religion. I've heard this in multiple religions, but I think that there's a spiritual part of the religion and then a social part of the religion. And the social part of the religion is like the lifestyle you have to live by, going to church every week or going to mosque or temple, etc. Um, and then also, you know, doing all the good deeds and just doing things with your church or whatever faith-based group that you're a part of. And then the spiritual side would be like praying every day and just becoming more enriched in your religion. So I think that what you mentioned, whatever kid, of like if you're not going to, let's say, the house of worship that you worship, or not doing things that would satisfy your religious congregation, I kind of look past that in a way, and I think it's more of where always were you always thoughtful to others? Were you respectful? Were you someone that put others first? Were you someone that had good intentions with your actions? I think it's more of that at the end of the day, and maybe less of, did you go to this house of worship every single week? Did you pray every single day? I think it's more of, were you a good person or not?
I think that would make more logical sense, you know. Like these people, if you don't wax the pastor's car, you're going to hell, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's just more of like fear mongering, especially from the church. I mean, I think it's more of fear mongering to get people back, more so of actually knowing like what could or what could you not could lead you to go to whatever afterlife you believe in or you fear of.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is kind of arbitrary because I know, like, growing up, I was always told, and my mom was Christian, her mom was Christian too, her dad was Christian, and they were like, yeah, as long as you're sorry, you can get into heaven. It's like, so anybody could get into heaven, like Jeffrey Dahmer, John Wayne Gacy, Hitler.
Hmm.
Um, there's actually a Family Guy clip about that where Osama bin Laden, he's right before he gets shot by SEAL Team 6, he prays to God and he's like, oh, forgive me. And he goes to heaven.
Wow. Yeah, I think it's that as well. And I know that there's some Christian groups that also have been working with people in the US who are on death row for maybe murdering someone, usually for murder. And a lot of them have actually been working with these Christian groups. And these Christian groups have, said, okay, they've like tried to get them to become closer to God, to read the Bible, and just to change and admit to their wrongdoing. And I've noticed that in a lot of cases where if you show that repentance, there's a higher chance, or they're preaching that there's a higher chance that you may be forgiven.
Yeah. I think there are some good aspects of it though, like the sense of community, treating people with respect. There does seem like a lot of good things you could take out of it, but without all the like you said, fear mongering.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. Because when you go, when I have went to church, It's been a while since I have, but it's just like a good fit. Not on some like positive Peter kind of thing, but it's just like some positive good feelings you get sometimes when you go to church.
Mm.
For me personally, at least, because it,
Yeah.
it
Oh, oh, go ahead.
okay, yeah, yeah, because it's not. Some religions are more extreme, and like the when the preacher was talking, he was never like you need to listen to God, because I remember there was one time we went to a Baptist, and Baptists are real intense. Like the preacher, it was like for one of my mom's friends, so we just went there one Sunday, and he was real intense. There was one point he threw a water bottle.
Yeah, I think it's the community aspect with people that share similar morals. But then you got other people that are just like extremists,
Mhm.
where if you like listen to certain music or watch a movie, it's a big deal. You're going to hell.
Mhm.
It's like those people, those people deter me from being interested in stuff like that. But I mean, I mean, I can appreciate the community aspect, people having morals. They don't want to steal from each other. They don't want to lie.
Yep.
That stuff is appealing. Don't get me wrong, but I wish there was more of that. Especially with the way society's going. I mean, people are just really degenerates nowadays. It seems like it, anyways. People just seem to have no morals, no respect for each other
Yeah.
whatsoever. No sense of like boundaries.
Mm.
Or there's hostility with if you have different opinions. Like with you, for example, it's like it's like people treat you, because I know that if I were to bring up the term antinatalism to other people that I know, they'll be like, "What? Are you serious? Why are you talking with this antinatalist guy? Life is a gift."
Yeah, and, I think the thing is, people perceive it as just trying to be negative or like hateful, but a lot of the time it's factual. I've yet to find many flaws in it. The whole antinatalism philosophy, because I mean, you can point out things like, I don't know, like the temperatures are rising. These jobs are paying very little. I mean, I forget the statistics, but what is the likeliness of you getting cancer or getting Alzheimer's? And people will be like, well, that's just like thinking negatively. So on the flip side, I mean, you could ignore that, but then that's just being willfully ignorant.
Mhm.
Um, it's not all about doom and gloom, but these things are facts. There's statistics behind it. It's very likely for bad things to happen. So I mean, why would you want to subject somebody else to that when you know you can avoid it? So that's my outlook on it. But I mean, at the end of the day, I could care less what anybody else does.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
mean, I know what I've done. Um, I've taken the precaution and I've gotten a vasectomy. But after that, I mean, what everybody else does, I could care less.
You know what was something that really stood out to me? This was said because I was in a poetry class. This was years ago, and there was this guest poet that came over there, and this really stuck out to me. She said, when it comes to like writing poetry, and just in general, I think she was saying the thing that all of us have in common, and it's not like she was on some anti-natalist kind of thing or whatever. She was saying the thing we all have in common is pain.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah.
I see that. Yep.
Yeah, so you guys want to now talk about Jennette Mccurdy with her new book?
Okay, sure.
I
Yeah,
actually, um, I actually started listening to it. I don't
what
know
do you
if you
think
guys
of
did
it?
or um, after the last couple of years of just reading and listening to books, it doesn't really hold my interest anymore. Not to take away from her book or anything, but I did start listening to it. I had listened to videos about her talking about these particular topics. So how her mom was, I don't know if it was like really abusive, but more like just very controlling and very manipulative. I mean, what are your guys' take on this? Have you read the book or?
No, I haven't read the book, but I have somewhat of an idea of like her situation because yeah, she was on. People know her most notably for iCarly for playing Sam, and it's pretty sad because her character. I remember her saying this. Her character loved eating food, but she had an eating disorder during that time.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think her mom wanted her to restrict her food intake so she would be thinner and she would look younger, um, which is pretty cruel.
Hmm. Yeah, it's unfortunate. I have not read the book yet, but I did hear like I've read a few articles about this, and I that's the only way I knew of Jennette Mccurdy through the show iCarly, and I do remember her and her character really well. And it's just unfortunate that it seems that her mother was abusive and she was very manipulative, and I think she was also forcing Jennette to pursue acting so that they could make some money, and also for her mother to gain some fame off of her work. It's unfortunate, and I think the book showcases that there are parents out there, and guardians too, that kind of just want to abuse the children in a way, I think. And in this case, and there's also other cases too, but I think in this case scenario, it was when she became an actor. Um, that was like the point where her mother was saying, okay, this is her claim to fame, and I'm going to take some of that as well.
Yeah, and I wanted to talk about this situation in her book because it's relevant to videos that you've made because your thing is about talking that parents usually have kids. There is no like selfless reason to have kids, and then when I look at a situation like that, that is extremely selfish because from the information I know, it seems like she she had her because she wanted to vicariously live through her because maybe she had failed acting dreams.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, I don't really have anything additional to add to this because the both of you have pretty much put it into perspective. Yeah, I mean, she wanted to live out her own dreams through her daughter, and she was abusive. I can't recall ever hearing anything about it being physically abusive, but definitely mentally. Um,
Hmm.
and I'm glad that she brought it to the light because stuff like that needs to be exposed.
Yeah, what do you think? Just in general, parents that are like that try to live vicariously through their kids.
Um, I think it's selfish. I think it's wicked. It shouldn't be done. But a lot of people promote it, I guess, because that's just how it is, you know. They they've done it. Their parents, their great grandparents, just generations of people just shutting your mouth and doing what you're told, I guess.
Yeah, that's the thing about it because just because just because that's your parent, yeah, they raise you, but they're treating you like garbage. You shouldn't just be able to take it. That's something that I would want normalized for kids to stand up to themselves or just be like, I'm not I'm not gonna be associating myself with this person because they're toxic or they were abusive, whatever it may be.
It shouldn't be normalized, but I mean, you even see this at work, you know. I mean, you could be getting worked to death, you know, very fit. You
Hmm.
might maybe your job's very physical, and you're like, man, my back hurts, and somebody be like, well, I was in a car accident and I broke, 6 ribs or whatever the case may be, and I still showed up. So if I can, you can too. It's like it shouldn't be like that. Everybody should be caring and want to have empathy, but instead, like, nobody cares.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got anything to add, Ace Man? And then I think we'll get to your hypothetical situations.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely agree with what Life is Overrated just mentioned about how it's wicked and how it, like, this should not happen, where parents should, just be parents and not try to live another, childhood through their children and to exploit them. So that's what I have to say about that. And I think it's unfortunate, but I think it's important that Jennette Mccurdy came forward and brought her story to life and brought this into the conversation.
All right, you ready to ask Life is Overrated about the hypothetical situations you came up with?
Yeah, definitely. So Life is Overrated. I've noticed that a lot of your videos, you've talked a lot about different issues from, I mean, no, most notably antinatalism, but also work and also religion too. And I'm just bringing up, these are just hypothetical situations. I'll read them to you. These are not from anyone in real life. These are just situations. And I just want to see like your advice to these hypothetical fictional people.
Okay.
So the first one says, my parents are expecting me to become a parent in the future, but in my mind, I don't want to become a parent. What would you recommend I do? Because I want to have a good relationship with my parents, but I don't want to be influenced by their interests.
Hmm. Um, I mean, there needs to be those boundaries set. But at the same time, I mean, I know you want to, an individual wants to get along with their parents in that situation. I guess you just have to be honest with them. And I guess if they can't respect you, then um, it just, not everything's going to work out the way you want it to. So if they're not going to respect the way you are, then you have to do things on your own terms. That's all I could say. Um,
Okay.
yeah, that's really all I can say.
Yeah, before you get on with your second scenario, what do you think of this? Because I text the responses to Ace Man's hypothetical situations as well, and I pretty much said around the same thing. I said that it's your life, so if you don't want the kid,
Mhm.
that's your decision. But I was saying at the end, if a parent decides they view you less because of that decision, or even worse, disown you,
Mhm.
they're just as bad as like those extremist parents that disown the kid because they're gay. What do you
Yeah.
think of that? You think that's an accurate assessment to say that?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, that's like being in a relationship and like, I don't know, a wife comes to her husband, it's like, if you're not gonna buy me a, I don't know, $100,000 car or something, I'm leaving you.
Mhm.
Well, that comes off as very selfish. But if a parent says it, it's a completely different scenario for most people. But at the same time, it is very selfish. They're not considering the other person's feelings or desires,
Mhm.
and they're like, well, if I don't get a kid out of you, hey, I don't care about you. I mean, how heartless does that sound? But most people, they're like, but, or well, it's like,
Mhm.
so it's just like, screw the kid. Nobody cares about their feelings. They should just conform and just shut their mouth and do what they're told. That's not right. And then, you see this in a lot of Disney movies actually, where the princess doesn't want to do something and, their parents want them to. I mean, you think after all these years of Disney movies, everybody would kind of comprehend this, but nobody does.
Mhm.
Or you see it in movies where somebody doesn't want to work that little office
Mm.
job and they'd rather do something a little different than the norm. And everybody's like, yeah, but this and that. It's like, well, what's wrong with individuality? And I don't know if I'm getting off topic, but I mean, to get back to it, I mean, I think it's just selfish.
Mhm. Yeah. I definitely think that both of your advices, your sets of advice are good ones, because yeah, it comes down to respect, and to respect an individual's intentions, what they want to do with their life. I think that shows that, I mean, in this case, a parent to their child, it shows, love and wanting the best for others. And at the end of the day, if you're forcing them to, have a kid and they don't want to, you should really just be wanting the best for what they want in their life. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to the second situation now, and this one is about work. I'm working a good paying job, but my boss is now putting more responsibilities onto me that isn't a part of my job description. Should I partake in quiet quitting with the risk of losing my job, or should I simp for the company?
Um, well, there's a lot of factors here because some people got kids. Some people have like pets they need to take care of. Some people are in relationships. I I don't really um um I'm trying to think of the term. It's in my head, but I can't get it off my tongue. I don't ever recommend being a simp at your job. Um, I'll bring up a scenario. So my boss has been pretty arrogant to me and some of my coworkers, and this guy was always like, "Man, you don't really say anything. Why is that? You're not speaking up for yourself and this and that." I'm like, "Look, dude. I mean, what am I gonna call the guy an asshole? He's
Mhm.
just gonna fire me on the spot, or make my. I mean, maybe not fire me, but make things more difficult, because companies don't want to pay unemployment. Um, so I would tell him, I'm like, dude, it's all about strategy. I look for a new job every day, and this guy can say whatever he wants, but the way I look at it is kind of like I forget what book I read this in, but it's like it might come off as cowardice, but you fight to see another day. Like if somebody was at war, maybe they retreat a little bit, but they're not retreating out of cowardiceness, to be afraid, but they're trying to strategize.
Mhm.
Um, so when it comes to that, quiet quitting, absolutely. Do what you need to, to be fired. I mean, quiet quitting isn't about like just slacking off. It's about doing just as much as you're paid, what they expect of you. That's it. You don't go above and beyond. You don't give any suggestions how they can save money. You know, maybe you don't come into overtime. That's what quiet quitting is. It isn't about being a complete slack off. I mean, if you want to, you can do that. But I mean, my advice in that scenario, um, do just the bare minimum to get those paychecks and then, find something else. I would never recommend simping for a job. I mean, that's going to be really bad for your health,
Mm.
your mental health in the future.
Yeah, that's I definitely agree there. And I think that it also comes down to just your health in general. If you're overworking at a job where it requires a lot of labor, or if it's just stressful and it's impacting your mental health, I think you also need to take a step back. And I agree with you. And it's not cowardice, I don't think. I think it's more of you trying to be a rational calculator for your health, and just to not cause an issue at work, but to say, okay, you have to advocate for yourself, but you also have to be a rational calculator in doing it so that it doesn't jeopardize your income or anything like that. But I definitely like that advice from you.
And I just want to add this, like, I mean, what are you supposed to do? Like when that guy was like, why don't you do something? I'm like, what am I gonna do? Just get up and leave? Who wins then? I'm without a paycheck now. No, like what sense does that make? It doesn't make any sense. Maybe this guy, maybe the boss thinks he's winning right now, but I mean, in the long term, if I do find another job, and I don't put no 2 weeks notice in, then he's screwed, not me. Um, and what's funny about this scenario is the guy that was telling me, well, why don't you say anything? He gave his 2 week notice. He did an exit interview, and he even wrote like a manual. He even wrote like typed out a manual for the next employee to know how to do things. So I'm like, see, that's not what you're supposed to do. But you know, I was the cowardice simp. To me, that was simp behavior to leave behind a manual. They didn't pay him any extra to do that. So
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
oh no, I was just gonna say, yeah, it is simp behavior that he did that. But I think he was more trying to just like help out the next person in line. So that's what maybe he was thinking of. But oh yeah, whatever, kid. You go ahead.
Yeah, to add to that as well, because this is what I said. I didn't. I didn't really even consider all that about when I answered his hypotheticals. But I was saying, I basically said to to be real observant of just like your surroundings and especially your boss's behavior, because I feel that could also dictate how you handle that situation. Is your boss more uptight, or is your boss more doesn't want to care if you did quiet quitting?
Mm,
Yeah, I guess that. Yeah, it kind of depends, I suppose. Um, I don't know. My whole take was if I don't like a job, I always look for something new, and I just kind of give the absolute bare minimum. And if they don't like it, then they can fire you. I mean, you could get up and quit, but what if you don't find a job for like a month?
yeah.
Where opposed to if you were like just slacking off and you found a new job, you would have had a job for a month, and now you're transitioning into another job. See, it was strategic. So, you can be senseless about it, but I mean, where's that going to get you?
That's true, yeah. All right, we're gonna move on to the final hypothetical. Um, Here it is. I have found myself watching entrepreneurs and hustlers pushing a narrative to work hard and expect all the money to eventually come. My dream is to live a luxurious lifestyle full of pleasures, just like all my favorite influencers. My friend told me that it's a long shot and I should get real ambitions. Should I ignore this message or should I hustle and everything will play out in my favor in the future?
Keep dreaming, buddy. No, um, um, yeah, I mean, it depends. I mean, some people the whole scenario, the whole situation for me is always luck. That's how it always seems. Either people were born with a lot of money, their parents had a lot of money, or they got extremely lucky with a job. I mean, if you watch any of these entrepreneurs, I mean, it's always like somebody gave them money. They got a loan.
Mhm.
I always think of this speech The Rock, Dwayne Johnson said. He's like, "Oh, I only had $7 in my pocket." Well, did you just close your eyes and pray and it turned into like 20 million? It doesn't happen like that. You know, you're sleeping on somebody's couch. They're giving you assistance by letting you sleep at their house. Maybe you're paying food, maybe you're helping out with rent or something. I mean, maybe they let you live there for free. So you're getting some type of help. It's not just, if I just think it's going to happen. That it just doesn't work that way.
Mhm.
Um, as far as like a luxurious life, I mean, if that's what you really want, I mean, maybe you get lucky with something. I don't know, maybe you're like a really good car salesman or something. Maybe you're in a situation where you can make decent money and where if you work really hard, maybe you can work your way up to living a luxurious life. But it comes down to luck. Like, I don't know, maybe you're good at singing, maybe you're good at writing. It's all about luck. It's not just as simple as, hey, if I just do this, it's gonna work. Maybe you're a good singer, but that's not what makes you a lot of money. Maybe you're a good salesperson and that's how you make your millions.
Mm.
It's always random. It's not as simple as just do it and it's gonna work. Um, I don't know. That's just my take on it, I guess. It's always about luck.
Mm.
I would also add, like, because in this hypothetical situation, the person was saying, the friend is saying, man, you need to have like more realistic expectations.
Yep.
Um, I don't like those people. I might not be like a Harry the Hustler or like, some woo woo, like pray and you'll get it. But at the same time, those people aren't really good for your circle either because they want you to be mediocre.
Mm.
They,
Mm.
those are the people that are like company simps.
Yep. Yeah, I like that though because it is kind of comes down to luck in a way. Sometimes you may like let's say you want to work in, like the if you want to be a salesman, right? And you don't want, I mean, somebody and that's how they get you that job. I mean, you got it through luck. And you could also be, let's say, like a singer or songwriter, and you're hustling on Instagram, all these different platforms. and your stuff gets put through the algorithm and you start getting more views, execs start reaching out to you. That's how it is. And it comes down to luck too. And yeah, to bring up like people who try to bring you down, there's always those people that don't want to see their friends succeed due to, maybe they're going to become jealous of you and all of that. And those people are the people that you have to eliminate from your inner circle. And I liked what you mentioned there. And I think that that's very good advice for someone who maybe is in this predicament.
Yeah, I mean, when I hear stories like this too, when I used to listen to a lot of those things. I'm like, man, I really wish I knew what I wanted to do. I wish I had like a particular passion or something, maybe like really good at art and it was selling. Like, some of these people, man, they just get lucky. They're really good at art and it works out. And then sometimes these same people will turn around and be like, see, it was so easy. It's like, yeah, but you were naturally good at art. Like me, I don't really, I've drawn here and there, but I don't have like that passion about art, or I don't have passion about like building stuff like carpentry or whatever. So maybe some people are born with multiple talents, you know?
Mhm.
So, they
Yeah,
might have some. Oh, go ahead.
okay. Yeah, before we get to last thing, which is going over these two articles, a thing I said to Aceman was to not put your eggs in one basket for this hypothetical situation. To be, yes, absolutely go work towards whatever that dream may be. If you really enjoy whatever it may be, whatever it's like being a rapper, for example, go for it. But don't be putting your eggs in one basket, because any rapper that made it big, it wasn't just like, oh, they became a rapper instantly. It was they had to work whatever it may be, some other job while doing rapping on the side when they had the time to do it. And then when you get money starts coming in, like you get a livable wage, then you can just pursue it full time.
Mhm.
A lot of times when you listen to stories like, I don't know, when it comes to rappers, like you mentioned, a lot of these guys were really making nothing. They were working a job, maybe like as a dishwasher, like a couple hours a week, and it was just enough money to buy equipment, and they were putting their full-time efforts into their music. But even after they became famous, there's only so long you're going to be relevant for, unless you're maybe like Michael Jackson or Elton John or something, where people will always listen to you. A lot of these people, they fall off. So if you look at rappers like Rick Ross, he owns like multiple chicken places. Like he does stuff with like weed or cigars or beard oil. He has
Mhm.
like multiple revenue streams where he doesn't really have to rap anymore. He owns his own record label, so now he has other people under him. So yeah, I agree. I mean, you can't put all your eggs in one basket. There's got to be other uh, avenues of revenue.
Yeah, so you're ready to react to those articles?
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
righty.
so these articles, since you're an anti-natalist, I I remember going over some of them, and we actually got a good laugh out of like some of the reasons. And these articles are going to be going over, as it says, five reasons to have children. So I'm going to be interested to see what you have to say, because me and Aceman, we don't consider ourselves anti-natalist, but we were laughing at. I remember going over this with them after we were talking with you last month, and we were laughing at how ridiculous some of these reasons were.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, I'll take a look at these. It's pretty cool that I can see it on here.
Oh,
So the first one is a new social life.
Yeah, I can see like a little bit of the screen, but I can't read it. A new social life,
yeah, yeah, that's good.
age of thinking. Oh, I guess what, like with other parents and stuff.
Yeah, pretty much.
You could
Yeah,
do that. You could do the same thing with dogs. too.
That's true.
And you don't have to bring a kid into this. I guess that would be my like anti-natalist response to that.
Yeah, you could do it with dogs, or I don't know. You could even go to an AA meeting and talk about how much you've been drinking.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, if that's what you're into, but I mean, that's even a pretty selfish reason to have a child, you know? What, so you have things to talk about? I mean,
Yeah.
you're subjecting somebody to a reality, so you have somebody else to talk to. I mean,
Mm. This one right here is laughter. Oh man.
laughter.
That's a, that's your best reason. There's many ways we can laugh. Like I'm not an anti-natalist, but I can find easy ways to say how that's a silly reason.
What if it's like the complete opposite when they get older and they actually like they're not laughing, they actually hate you.
Yeah, that's the thing about it. Life's not guaranteed, and it's not a guarantee that your kids will like you, depending on how you treated them growing up.
Yeah, especially when they find out that the only reason they had you is so you can go to like mommy and daddy meetings.
Yeah, yeah. So I can have a new social life. Yeah.
Yeah.
You stop thinking about throwing yourself under a bus.
What?
Well, I need to. I don't get. I need to read some. Before you have children, you are quite likely to have a number of philosophical crises in your life, death, and meaninglessness. I mean, to that point, meaninglessness. I don't view life being meaningless as a bad thing. I think it, for me personally, because I've dealt with anxiety, especially when I was younger. I mean, I still deal with it now, but when I was younger, dealing with anxiety, I wish I did have that mindset because it kind of just like takes the pressure off somewhat.
Yeah. Yeah, it can be pretty liberating. I mean, I mean, this whole one is just funny. I mean, thinking about throwing yourself under a bus. I mean, if you're mentally unstable, why would you? If somebody's mentally unstable, why would you want them to be having a kid? That makes no sense. Like, it's funny. Like, I read a lot on Reddit about people wanting to get sterilized, whether it be men or females, and they're like, well, you know, sometimes they're like, well, we need you to go under a psychological evaluation. It's like, why does somebody need to go under a psychological evaluation for that? But, you know, if this person's telling you that they're drinking all the time and taking pills, sometimes people are like, maybe you just need to have a kid. It's like, maybe this person needs to see a therapist. Maybe this
Yeah.
person needs to go to a gym first.
Yep.
The first thought shouldn't be about this person having a kid. They're clearly mentally unstable. So I don't know, that this whole thing just makes me laugh every time I hear this. I see this a lot actually. You know, they're depressed or, you know, very suicidal, or they're maybe even like hurting other people. So they should have a kid. I mean, this person needs to be locked up or something. I mean, if it's really that bad. I mean,
Yeah.
and not to say everybody who's suicidal, because you know, I believe in euthanasia. I mean, euthanasia. I mean, if people want to leave, they should be able to. You're basically just bringing another burden, and you know, who's to say that your kid's not going to want to throw themselves under a bus one day?
And this point makes me think of another one. It's not on this list specifically, but oh, my life didn't have meaning until I had you, or whatever it may be. And this is the same. That's the same thing people say, like in a relationship, like in those cheesy rom-com movies. Oh, my life didn't have meaning, or whatever.
I mean, it really never did. We just kind of
Yeah,
we just kind of
exactly.
make up stuff.
Exactly. That's the thing about it, because when we were monkeys, it wasn't like, oh my goodness, my purpose in life. It was just survival. That's it.
If there is to be any meaning in life, I think it is just about survival. I mean, that's like anything. I mean, a cat, a dog, a bird, you eat and you survive. That's it. I mean, if there is any meaning, that's it to survive. Um, I think that's like why, once you have like a house or like a roof over your head, once you have access to clean water and eating food, I mean, that's why we play video games, right? That's why you watch TV because you're bored. What is there really to
Yeah.
do? You've already beat that survival. There's nothing really else to do. I mean, we just make stuff up. I mean, those hobbies are just making stuff up. I don't know.
And now the last one, beauty. I don't know which one of these is the worst reason.
Oh, definitely
Beauty.
the last one. Not the fourth, but the not the fifth, but the fourth. The one about throwing yourself under the bus. That was the worst.
This is not a good reason either. Beauty.
What if they're ugly?
Yeah.
I mean, you see those videos where like people have like the kids have like extreme tumors or like their eyes are missing, and people are like, oh my God, they're so beautiful. It's like we can drop the act. Um, I don't know about you guys, but I have arachnophobia. I don't really like spiders, but I'd probably rather see a baby spider than see a human baby. Um, I don't really find human babies to be all that cute. I actually think they're kind of ugly.
Oh, that's gonna get some positive Peters and Patricias mad. You saying that?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, this one
All
right
right.
here. This was an interesting one though, the beauty thing. 'Cause that's a subjective thing, and I think that the author really, I don't know, to some it'll be beautiful and to others not so much.
why do I
Alrighty.
feel like why do I feel like the person that wrote this article has like a mug that says "Live, Laugh, Love"?
Probably
There's his
does.
picture right there.
Yeah, maybe he does. I don't know. I that's what I'm assuming though. He could, depending on all these reasons he gave, especially number four.
Yeah. Um, I don't know if you guys had anything else to add, but I have to actually go pretty soon.
Okay.
But I wanted to
All right.
talk about something I seen online that I thought was uh, pretty wild. I don't know if you guys seen it. I think maybe whatever kid may have mentioned it, but people were cooking like chicken and NyQuil.
Yeah. Yep, I've seen that.
Um, I just see these trends online, and it's like people's intelligence are instead of evolving, it's like going backwards. It's like instead of IQs going up, I mean, people say different things about IQs, but assuming that's real, instead of it going higher, it's like it's going lower.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely see that. And we had the Tide Pod issue in the past too, where kids were popping like Tide Pods and eating them. And now you have people that want to eat they call it the sleepy chicken. And yeah, I think it comes down to, and you mentioned this in a couple of your videos, the whole like followers mentality, like the sheep mentality, where some people
Yeah,
are just following, other people because they think it's cool and they think that, oh, it'll make them normal if they do these silly things. And I think people need to start realizing that, you know, these stupid trends that, I mean, this one is really dangerous and dumb. People just need to realize that these are dumb trends at the end of the day. And if that they're doing this to just try to fit in, I think they need to reconsider that.
Yeah, validation in cloud is a drug.
I mean, it's funny. Like one thing, if it's like the cinnamon challenge or something, when you see kids doing that, it's like whatever. But when you see like fully developed adults cooking chicken with NyQuil, that's concerning.
Yeah, so you want to quickly go over the second article?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. This one's called 25 Reasons You Should Have Children.
All right. Maybe we could do like the first five, because
Okay.
yeah.
This one says renewed passion.
Uh, passion, huh? Um, passion to what exactly though?
I guess it's the passion to become a parent and I guess to
Yeah.
provide for your kids, I guess.
I mean, passionate about struggling more financially. I mean, I don't know. I mean, to each their own, I guess.
The next one is
Yeah,
new
I mean,
Oh yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I mean, I was just gonna say I had like really nothing to say there. So,
Yeah,
New priorities.
yeah.
I mean, your life would be easier if you didn't have a kid. That's what I would have to say.
new priorities. I mean, why couldn't you make that like, I don't know, saving money, going to the gym? I don't know, something that would probably benefit you more in the long run, but I don't know, maybe a diet or something,
Mhm.
a new diet.
You just bought a house. I mean, that one is it doesn't really make a lot of sense, I guess.
That doesn't. What requirement is there for you to have a kid if you bought a house?
Is that like an excuse to buy a house? I mean, with
I
both, I
don't
mean,
know.
but both are pretty costly. So, I mean, I don't know. Is this like aimed at people that are making like six figures plus? I mean, especially in today's economy. So I don't know. That person must be a little oblivious um, to how the economy is going on at the moment.
Hmm. Next one is become a better cook.
Oh my, that's got to be the
Is
worst one
this
so
one's a bad
far.
one.
This is terrible.
Why couldn't you just become a better cook for your own self? I mean, what?
Yeah.
I mean, like these are the type of things. Like when they say these things, it's like, imagine one day you're like, your kid, they're like, Mom, Dad, why did you have me? Oh, so I could be a better cook.
Yeah, that comes down to the selfish and the narcissistic thing. It's like you should have come up with better reasons, and this one is one of the worst ones.
I can probably look at like another one or two. Actually, I have to go to the bathroom, but
Oh,
what's
okay.
this one?
This is the final one we'll look at. You'll learn new skills.
I mean, why couldn't you learn other skills like, I don't know, carpentry or like
Mhm.
plumbing, or I don't know, like how to, maybe nutrition, CPR. I mean,
Yeah. That's the thing about these points. The counter argument to that you could just say is I could have done all this stuff without having a kid.
I think the major counter argument is, again, I mean, like, Mom, Dad, why'd you have me? Oh, so I could learn more skills. It's like, then they might be like, well, why didn't you just go to college or something?
Yeah. All right, so you guys got any closing statements to make before we close this out?
I'd like to do it again.
Oh
You
yeah.
guys can bring up
Definitely.
some more stuff. It's pretty interesting. I like that about this. I feel like it's like Joe Rogan or something.
I just
Yeah,
want
we
to.
could look up. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, yeah, I had a great time like just discussing all these different topics and just to have an exchange of opinions too. I think it's always valuable. And I just want to say, whatever kid, and life is overrated in '96. Thank you both again for having me on. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'll try to find some topics online that I can mention too, for the next one.
Yeah, I'm gonna find whatever like kind of silly article that might be related to procreation or whatever it may be. Well, whatever you guys want. I want to react to another one next time we come on here.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to work with on the internet these days. I mean, just about
Yeah.
everything is but yeah, I appreciate talking with you guys. I appreciate you guys having me on again. Maybe I'll talk to whatever kid. Maybe we can set up another time, maybe next week or within the following weeks.
All
Definitely.
right. Yeah. Sounds good.
All right, take it easy, guys.
Thank you.
All
You as
right. Have
well.
a good
All right.
one.
All right, bye.